Good evening. Why is my thing not working? I'm not convinced you can hear me. Can you hear me? I think maybe you can. Anyway. So I was noticing that my lips weren't moving. And I don't know why that was, but there we go. It seems to be working. And I didn't touch anything, so even more confused. It's been one of those days. Confusion runs very, very, very high today. So, as we left it yesterday, I covered up, well, as always, we had indeed finished triangle number 6, and then she suddenly realises, did we update the thing? Yes, we did. So, there we go. So, today, we get to start the next one. Now, obviously, between now, and I've got one more triangle to go on this guy, but, looking ahead, the time to do my experiment of the suggested, bind off, for want of a better word, I know it's a knitting term, but the suggested finishing technique is rapidly decreasing. And as a result of rapidly decreasing, of course, so I'm just trying to work out why my bobbins are tangled. 1, 2. So there's the edge one, the other edge one, the next one. You are definitely from there. You're from there. One of you is laying, and it's you. That's right. Right. So, you should all be across this way. There we go. Something like that. Just check that no more of you are wrapping around this pin. You are. Not the right thing. So you get to go with that one. You're that one round. It's important. Don't want my first stitch to be wrong now, do we? So. Previously, he says, not entirely sure, we did this before we did this, because we need something to hold our pin our hat against. Infinitely tiny, tiny bent pins. Come on. We have lots of infinitely tiny, tiny bent pins. And the next square, we're not going to use the infinitely tiny, tiny bent pins. We're going to use the slightly less infinitely tiny, tiny, and hopefully not bendable pins, because, well, these pins suck. Oops, don't do that just yet. This is a little higher than it was yesterday. Oh, feels a really weird angle, but it's not, but it is. Dogs destroy the place. Hang on a sec, let me sort this out. Straighter. To be honest, they should be. It's definitely been a long day today. Let's start there. See, this is when you're starting at the top, you have so much extra room. It's kind of weird. Right? You can have these super long strings on your bobbins, and there's so few in play, and they're not tangling with anything. It's kind of weird. It doesn't take long before it starts getting crowded, of course. It doesn't take long at all. Just slipped off, so you're equally annoying. Can you be coming out of the last pin when you're a noob? Or have you just looped yourself around it? You loop yourself around it. I was gonna say, it makes no sense whatsoever. like a big effort today. I don't know why. To do so. Once these get down to a point where should just come off again, the kind of knot is in line with, in a straightish line with what goes on below the wrappings around the bobbin. Tends to come undone fairly well. Oh dear, it's going to be one of those days. But until then, it's kind of stubborn. Right, let's put you all over here because we don't need most of you for a while. Catching on my jumper, so the lower cloth is trying to kill me. To be honest, I can push it a little bit more for you. There you go. doing anything? The question is why not? So, there is... I can't see shit because it's too far away. Let's turn it around. It's like I missed a bit. How the hell did that happen? Right. Let's move you around a little bit because I need to see what's going on. See, you come from there. It's not. You're all kind of. Where they should be. Phew. Definitely harder work than it should be. Definitely harder work than it should be. I'm not convinced I twist them. Oh yes, they work. That's okay then. Why are you so long? Sorted. Why is it you tilt so readily one way, but when I want to do a tiny adjustment, in one way you're difficult, and the other way you kind of leap and bound. Difficult. There we go. What are you doing, dogs? Hmm? can hear you, you know, dogs. Hello, Rory. Rory was a silly boy today, weren't you? Let's push this back a bit. You were a silly boy today. You got up on the couch and you puked down my back. Yes. It's only water. Oh. Come on then. Come on. Could you be any slower? Yes, a good boy. As he's now on the open part of the couch that he could have just got up on, didn't have to shove his way past me to do. But never mind. There we go. Yes, you good boy. Rump. You were laid down and comfortable 2 milliseconds ago. And I told you how good you were, and now you need a hug. And now your sister is jealous. Hello, jealous boots. Seriously, noses. My twins. Good puppy dogs, really. Stop licking my clothes. For the man who was feeling sick earlier, stop licking things like my jumper. It is not a buffet. I am not a stramping patch either. No, we've got a whole garden for that. Lie down. Lie down, little man. Lie down. Lie down. That's a good girl. Sniff, 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 sniff. Lick ear. Yeah, my ear doesn't need licking. No. I don't need you to dislodge my ear thing either. No. I know you want infinite hugs. I do. I am your mother, I understand these things. But I don't want to give infinite hugs. This is not how... It's not how it works. You can't see this. It's not how it works. And now I have a face full of dog. Don't I? Face full of dog. You're definitely not helping. You are not helping, my man. You're not. People do not want to watch me moan about you getting in the way. No. Yes, I know. Grumble. Grumble, grumble. I can't do this with just my left hand. I'm shit enough at it. Look. I really can't do this with just one hand. I need two. And... I'm not helping, my man. No. Lie down. Come on. Can you move these? You lie down. Come on. Lie down. Humph. Just lie down. Lie down or sod off. Take it. No, don't maul me. That is the one option you don't have today. I'm not in that mood. I'm not. And I know you're asking very nicely. You are. Seriously, just lie down. Up. Yes, you put your head there. No. for goodness sake, Rory. This is when I get annoyed with you. I've been here all day. Over 12 hours. I've been awake and doing things and giving you random hugs. And now I want to actually do something. Now I want to actually do something, and all you can do is be in the way. I have a 20-something kilo dog trying to be in my lap, which is why that's as far as I can reach at the moment. But this is because there's a dog in the way. Now, if he stays where he is, it's really annoying, but I can work around this. I suppose it should be grateful it's not one of Lorty Kelt's lurchers. But it's bad enough. You're big enough. Yes, you are. No, that was close, Rory. If I'd not had my hands there, that would have been on the floor. Wouldn't it? That would have been on the floor. And then there would be angriness. Extreme angriness. Little man. See, you can see here, he's about a hand span from being on camera, because, well, if it could reach to the front of the thing, and if I do this, look, there's a little, you can't quite see, but there's a little black nose, really, really close. Poke your nose round a bit. How does it not see your nose? Are you properly invisible? I know you think that black dogs are invisible, because all black dogs think they're invisible and that no one can see them. You're not invisible though. No, I do see you. Yes, I do. I very much see you. How can I not? You're lying on both my arms. Oh, we've got ants. You can get to do a lot if you're gonna stay like this, Rory. You're loved. You're. Yes. Just being a good boy in the wrong place, my friend. Yes, I know. I do. Yes, I know. Yes, you'd be a very good boy. Just in the wrong place. How about I do a really short stream today? And after the stream, you sit like this, get as much huggy as you want. Yes. You got a sore tooth. Hmm? You got a sore tooth. Shouldn't do, not at your age. No, you just got the mega yawns. Silly little boy. Oh. Come on. I know you want to be part of it. But, my dear little baby, there is not really room for dogs to do this. No. You sit back there and you be comfy. You like that. You stay there. You're not going to, but we can try. There. After the longest pep talk ever, dog is currently being a good boy, sitting somewhere else. Seriously, Ben. Screw you. Oh. Rory's decided he's not comfy. I didn't fill up my Coke glass, no matter. This is when we're beginning to not really have any room, as I mentioned earlier. Soon the space runs out. So, you look completely from round the wrong way. So I'm going to assume you are there. You need to twist and be made longer. Much longer. You don't come undone. No, bastard. Stop being such a cow. This not really is kind of painful to get right. It's far too long, but there we go. Today is clearly not one of my better days. Right. I have crossed you, you're a good thing. Let's work you across. Seem to be getting longer. They're not, but feels like it. One thing most lace makers agree on is whatever bobbin length you like, they all do kind of need to be similar. So let's shorten you a little bit. In the same time zone as your friends. Let's redo you again, because of course it's the same bobbin, isn't it? Must be something about this bobbin. Maybe it's got a slightly less of a groove than the others. There we go. Oh, I'm tired, people. Very tired. I apologise for yawning. As I said before, I consider it quite rude. But at the same time, by the time it strikes me, I can't move, so I don't get to mute it either. That's confusing. I was looking at the time and it says like 5 to 8 sort of thing. And my brain went, okay. And then my brain looked at the fact that I've been streaming for 45 minutes. My brain went, confused. Why are you confused, brain? Because I thought we started streaming at 7:30. And clearly we didn't. 45 minutes ago, it would have been just after 8 o'clock. But I swear it was up past. Oh. I mean, it started streaming earlier than that, so. Getting a bit busy down the bottom here. Pings, that's fun. How can I be so yawny? I know they say that yawning is because your brain feels it's not getting enough oxygen or whatever. Well, it's got no decent excuse for that. There is more than plenty to go around. So today's stream may not be the longest stream because clearly I'm far more tired than I gave myself credit for. At the moment I have to rub two brain cells together, my brain has gone, oh, I'm too tired for that. To be honest, it is literally rubbing two brain cells together, so clearly it is a poor deprived brain. dear, sorry people. So one of the questions that you all ask me seems to be, how do I know what to do next? Well, while there is a great humongous pile of bobbins on my cushion, there is literally only 2 bobbins that I can work right now. For every one of these dots is a pin. So, picking a random hole, there's a random hole. I can't work that hole because the bobbin that feeds it, which is this one and this one, are not filled in. So you look back to the first point, because it's usually one of the highest points. So the first point that I can work is this one, because I have this pair of bobbins coming in that way and this pair of bobbins coming in that way. And if I zoom in, she says getting her thing and zooming in. Oops, wrong way around. This pinhole here, and you can see these come in this way, these come in this way. I can't work the next pin down because there's nothing coming from. I can't work this pinhole that's hiding under here, so this second pinhole, because there's nothing coming from this pinhole. So this pinhole right here and now is the only pinhole I can work out of my entire triangle. And so there isn't a lot of choice. And given the stitch of choice, there is only, there is only one move I can make, which is to do the stitch, pin, stitch. And now the only pin I can work is the next one down. It is often no more complicated than that. Despite all the bobbins, despite all the pins and all the holes, occasionally you get to a point where you can choose. So, for example, let's say I've worked all the way down this cloth stitch bit here. I can continue and do the ground stitch at the end, or I can go on and do the rose ground inside the little diamond. But there often aren't many choices, because I wouldn't be able to do all of this ground. I'd only be able to do down to like this line here, and then I'd have to stop, because I'd need to have done this cloth stitch, and to do that cloth stitch I would need to do the ones to the right. So now you can work from the left. So for example, currently I'm working in kind of that direction. Well, you can work in that direction. So I could do all of these first stitches down here and then all of the next stitches. I could do that. And I can... But I like to work in little blocks. So I will do this bit of ground, then this little bit of cloth stitch. Then I'll probably do this rose ground. Then I'll probably do this bit of cloth stitch. Then I'll probably do this bit of ground. And then I'll do that bit and this bit. And then I have to do the top half of this bit before I can do that bit, which means I can do that bit, then this bit. And it's... breaking it into little chunks also is good for the brain cells, because if you are constantly swapping between doing different stitches, the repetition helps your brain cells sort things out in your head. if you constantly changing stitches, and you've got to remember to do this between these stitches and not between that stitches, and all those kind of things, well, it should work, and technically it would work. There's nothing to prevent it from working. You can indeed do that. So, you know, when I get down to, I can't just work that row of pins because I need to do this row of pins too. But if I was to do the zigzaggy bit and get to here and do, you know, get to this top one and, well, fill in those few rows ground, and then go to here and then come back to here and do the next bit of rows ground, and the bit of ground stitch, you'd find yourself, there's no reason, as I say, there's no reason it shouldn't work, but in your head it is far more easy to make mistakes because you're not getting into the swing of one stitch, you're constantly flipping between the others. Now, maybe your brain works better that way, and the joy is, of course, is you can do verily that if your brain likes it. If your brain does not like it, which mine seems to struggle sometimes at the best of times, even though there's no excuse for my brain struggling. It's also quite satisfying, I think, if you do the little kind of blocks that make up your pattern. Now, some patterns, it's hard. There is no kind of mini blocks per se. But if you have mini blocks, for example, just checking that was the right hole that was going in. If you do have little mini blocks, it's quite easy for you to set yourself a task of, today I'm going to do at least this bit. Because it's not a particularly fast moving hobby, it can be quite difficult when, you know, you've spent an hour, 2 hours doing it, and yes, it's grown, but only a little bit. There are some cracking pictures and videos out there of people with, you know, billions of bobbins and doing well complicated things, and looking like that they could hold a real, you know, have a highly valued discussion on nuclear physics or something, right? You know, quantum physics or something, and you're kind of going, yeah, you've been doing this a long time. But for us mere mortals, for those of us who have to kind of count a bit more as to what we're doing, to pay that little bit more attention, because it's not just your eyes, it's like when you first learn music, right? If any of you do music, when you first learn music, you've learned that, you know, every good boy deserves fruit and face spell the treble clef, right? And you almost have to write all the letters underneath each of the notes, because your brain's just going, I see a blob on a line, yeah, I recognise it as a quaver, crotchet, minim, whatever it is, but I need to count them. Now, I have perfect pitch. I can play a lot of, I'll call it simpler music, by ear. To the point I highly offended a music teacher at school when she didn't believe me that I'd worked out the theme tune for Miss Marple, the proper Miss Marple with Joan Hickson, right? That the BBC did. And I looked around and she was with like the tiniest students you ever did see. And I asked this kid, I said, can I borrow your violin? She went, yeah. And this thing was like, you know, kind of like this long, tiniest thing ever. And I played the Miss Marple theme tune on her violin. Now, first of all, they didn't know I could play the violin. So she was a little bit offended because, well, I could play the violin. And I hadn't told her. You didn't ask, miss. And you weren't actually my teacher, so why would I? But I also played a perfectly good rendition of Miss Marple. And they were kind of like, I didn't know you could do that. You never asked me. You know, there was a lot of that. And she seemed really properly offended, and to this day I don't actually know why she was offended. Maybe it was something she'd tried and failed to do. I don't know. I wasn't old enough to care, and I was late for a lesson, so I ran off. can't even remember why I'd gone back. I'd had to go back and get something. Anyway. But even today, age 52, although I am out of practice, when you have notes that do not sit within the standard clef, i.e. they're either above or below and they've got a bunch of lines on, I still have to count them to work out what they are. I will remember for next time, but I will at some point sit there and count out, right, that's an A, that's a C, whatever it is, right? I will count them. When I read bass clef, I do not read bass clef, I read treble clef and convert it. Because an A in bass clef is a C. So they're all 2 notes down from what you read. So that is how my brain plays them. It sees an A and goes, oh, that's got to be that'll be a C then. It's not how you're supposed to do it. It's a bit like when we learn a foreign language. When we learn a foreign language, we don't just sit there and kind of go, you know, je m'appelle Liz. In your head, you go, my name is Liz, is je m'appelle. Right, okay, so je m'appelle Liz. Or you hear je m'appelle and you go, I know that means my name is. You don't think in the foreign language. You think in your language and convert. You have to be far more practiced before it is your actual thought language, for want of a better explanation. That's right, I'm just checking because these look a little tangled and no, these are good. So it is something that we all do to an extent. And it's, as a programmer, I can tell you I do the same with programming languages. If you know one. Now, I have over the years converted between many. And I currently naturally think in C#. But, give me one of my other languages that I'm reasonably proficient in. And if I was to be working on a project in that for a while, my brain would go back to thinking quite naturally in that language. But for a while, it would go, in C# you do this, in this one you have to change this and this. You convert. And it's not always ideal, but we do it. The same is true, I think, with crafting, is that you have a skill in your head, that a craft that you're good at, whether it's crochet, knitting, whatever. And almost you draw comparisons, especially as an adult. It's how you learn so much quicker than you did as a kid. You have far more things to draw comparisons against, far more things that you can sit there and go, well, this is a bit like, and off you go. That's right, just dinked my pillow again. So as an adult, you learn a lot quicker because you have more things to go, well, this bit's like that, and that bit was a bit like this, and oh, I do that in this, and it may be used for a completely different process, but you still, I recognise doing this as the same as doing that. Now, this is where the fun starts. Because this is the cloth stitch. And I've got to make it the same as all the previous ones, but I'm also aware that the previous ones don't entirely work out the way they should. So, let's do some sticks, because we don't need some of you for this. We'll need some of you in the long run. so you can hang around for a little bit. But the rest of you, we will stick so we can get you out of the way. Don't need a pin, Donut. Now, the other thing we can do, which of course is one of our favourite things to do, we move the big pin out of the way so I don't stab something. So we can push down the edge pins, because we like doing that. We feel accomplished when we push down edge pins. It kind of signifies that we did that bit. Why does it feel like we've done this thing? Them down, that's a good thing. You are once again wonky. But now, my friends, we have a bit more space. I never did dig out that wooden thing. Let me go and dig out that wooden thing. I am absolutely adamant of digging out the wooden thing. I have these, and these were beautifully made for me by request. And what you do is you put this say here and this say here, and it stops them from leaping up. And that holds the threads down so that they don't leap in and cause trouble. This is the most evil device known to man. It's called an Archimedes drill, and you use it by, and all I can say is, don't have to get awfully hot. I've got a couple of pretty pins. So for example, I've got a pin with a penguin, and I've got a blue sparkly pin. I quite like my rather plain hat pins, so we'll stick with those for the moment. Put those over there. And you. Because you will help hold these down and stop them from causing mayhem. Because we need to grab some of you. I need you to be longer. Not that long past me, but we need you to be longer. Let's make you slightly shorter. Apparently, as I got up, Rory decided that he needed that spot. So, now we pin this one. As I said before, those wooden things are designed so that you put a bobbin pair through so that the bobbins can butt against the wooden thing, and you can then work with the other halves like pairs of bobbins, and then when you need to, you work the other side. But I decided that they would be awesome for this, and nobody seems to make them by default. And I was asking after them, and a lady went, "Oh, my husband can make those." Please do, please do. I mean, considering it's kind of a round thing with a couple of holes in it, it was probably a bit more than expensive than you might think. I think they were about £5 each. I did have a longer one made so that I can make, trap a lot. But to be honest, that's plenty because there's quite a lot of room. I can always move it down a bit and, trap them a little bit better. So. But, yes. Finally remembered to get it out today. That doesn't feel right. But it is. And now we need you. And I'm all hot. How does that work? I might have to go into work next week, which will be a laugh. I haven't been on site for years. Moreover, as of Monday, my badge won't work. Because we changed our company name because, well, we could. I'm sure the market research showed that it was a brilliant thing to do. It just seemed like a good way to throw out money. We also marginally changed the company colour as well. To be honest, this is not a dissimilar thing. So let's say the old colour was this colour, the new colour's nearer this colour, and you're kind of going, so you've repainted everything, you threw out all the company signs, you've ditched all the old company stationery. How much did that cost you? Don't get me wrong. I don't disagree. It's not like the new name's a stupid name for it or anything like that. But it is kind of slightly amusing that... Did it really matter? I mean, there is this little bit of you kind of... It was a bit like when Olay became Ulay. Because probably in some foreign country it means something really, really bad. But you've been that for like 20 years. Changing the name of it, it's the same stuff, same logo. Does it really make a huge difference? Does it really, you know? 5. I had a laugh a long time ago now. Must have been nearly 19 years ago. Someone I was working with, mostly indirectly, but someone I was kind of remotely working with, went on holiday. When they came back, they came to see me. It was like, hello, stranger, haven't seen you for a while. Well, I've been on holiday. Okay. I saw these and thought of you, and handed me a packet of sweets. I confess I never ate them. Now, it's quite unheard of. Most people who know me is that, frankly, anything with sugar in it kind of disappears. But I didn't eat these. And there was a fairly simple reason for that. These sweets were called Unix. Now, I know Unix, so, that was why my friend had deemed them kind of appropriate. And they weren't inappropriate. But at the same time, it was also slightly weird because, well, they were orange flavoured sweets called Unix. Maybe they may have been the most glorious orange tasting sweets this side of the galaxy. But as I say, I never ate them. I think I've still got them in my drawer, actually. Well, I won't have them in my drawer. They'll be in my plastic box if no one's thrown it out yet. Which they really should have done by now. It's been years. But it was just the fact that, these sweets were called Unix. Well, to a British or an English-speaking individual, that's kind of weird. But maybe wherever they were from, it meant something completely different. Now, it's hard to believe that Unix somewhere else means orange sweet, or is a brand. It wasn't a brand name, it was the name. Or the type of sweet. So it didn't have Haribo, Unix on it, but it was definitely not the brand name. It was most definitely the name of the sweet in the packet. And they were called Unix. I don't actually know where they'd been. I don't remember where they went. Because that would make it easier to find out why they were called Unix, I guess. But all the writing on the thing was in English. Well, most of the writing was in English. So it was kind of weird that they were called Unix. But it's the same if we used to have Jif and now it's called Sif. Marathons are now Snickers. Opal fruits are Starbursts. All this kind of stuff, and it's like, there's nothing wrong with an opal fruit. It really isn't. Opal fruit's made to make your mouth water and all that, right? So sometimes it seems odd that companies change names of things. Other times it kind of makes some sense. Chris Tarrant, as I recall, on one of his kind of Saturday night blooper things, you know, had some really dubious names for things. Because, of course, once again, in their original name, perhaps that meant something very different. But to us, reading it in English, not overly appropriate. I can't think of any, and I'd probably get banned for saying half of them anyway. So, but you get the kind of idea. But at the same time, it still is a little odd sometimes when companies that seem to have a made-up name for their product in the first place then change it, and it's kind of like, why? Wasn't doing anyone any harm as it was. I mean, I don't know, maybe it meant something really rude in another language, but sometimes it's hard to believe because it seems made up. But of course, then that's the problem of when you westernise a word. So obviously, if you think of the kanji for Japanese, we look at it and see squiggles, and they look at it and see a whole word. But when you westernise that into more A to Z star characters, well, then it can go horribly wrong, and mean a whole host of other things. Which is why there's kind of great arguments over the translations of the Bible and all the other kind of, or other ancient texts, because, well, this word in its original format could have meant, it could have meant a whole bunch of things. It's like there was, can't remember, it might have been the Bible, might not, but it was the word companion. And it's like, well, depending on how you view it, companion meant wife, not bud, you know? Well, how do we know? No one was around to ask, you know? We assumed that it was interchangeable, but maybe because they didn't get married back then. Not in the way we view it, you know, it's... And this goes back to the conversation we had a little while ago about viewing things with the from yesteryear with the eyes of today. You know, no one's gonna come out and say that slavery was a good thing, because it never was. But at the same time, it was foremost the way of life for many years. How do you think they built the pyramids, right? It was very much the way of life. If you look at the wages of, well, you had poorhouses, because it's not that they didn't have jobs, it was just the fact that they'd be paid so little, it was frankly insulting. We've had, history, rape and pillage, we've had, mass murderings, genocides, the whole shebang. And the truth is no one's going to pretend necessarily it was for good. But at the same time, it was normal for then. If you could kind of go back in time and steal, a bit like kind of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure kind of thing. If you could go back and steal people out of their time to come and live today and explain to them that you need to pay for your healthcare, that there is even healthcare to some of them, that you go to a job and you earn someone else money and maybe see very little of that yourself. You're not paid for the value of the job, you're paid a value. So, you know, you could work for a company and they could make a packet of crisps. You are not paid a penny per packet of crisps. You are paid a fixed wage. So, in some ways, it's not really in your interest to make more. Or you could be in a company that make $1 million handcrafted somethings, and you're on commission, therefore it is in your interest. But most people are not on commission, and so making more is almost not in their interest. They will get paid the same either way. As long as they do a reasonable level of work, they will get paid the same either way. And to someone from yesteryear, that could be really an alien thought, because for them, you only got paid when you shoed the horse. You only got paid when you gave over the table. You didn't put down a payment in advance. And even if you did, chances were you owned the supplies that they used, and you were expected to get them back at the end of it. I do wish that history we taught in school... I know that the ads are coming, thank you. I do wish the history we taught in schools was more interesting. And more relevant in some ways. History is always relevant to an extent. But at the same time, you know, first thing I did for GCSE English was, did King Edward I die from having holes drilled in his head? Well, he died anyway, so whatever, right? Doesn't really make a difference as to whether he did or not. He died. Done. Things like how Emily Pankhurst was treated. Bit more recent, obviously. Kind of relevant, kind of not. Because while we're doomed to repeat it if we do not learn from it, we don't need to fight for women to vote. You might need to still fight occasionally to get a similar pay to your male counterpart. Because that can still be a thing. Yes, I know the ads are coming. But, you know, we have moved on. We are now fighting different battles. We are now fighting for the right for people to believe that they are cats, for people to have pronouns of choice and not just the two that we originally picked as part of our language. We are fighting for the right for them to become the people they honestly believe they are through surgery. We are now having fights over whether abortion is reasonable again. I thought we sorted that one last time, but, you know, apparently that can be a thing. So for all of us, there are still battles out there that we're fighting, and it kind of doesn't feel right. No, this is right. It would be interesting to see more of the relevant, you know, repeated stuff, or, you know, where some of this started, because obviously at some point people fought for the right of abortion. Well, to be honest, they just did it with a coat hanger at some point, which is why many people died. I mean, even Dirty Dancing kind of covered that one a bit. Going to a backstreet doctor to get it done, and it nearly killed her. Not the main protagonist of the story, but someone that she knew, and her dad, being a doctor, had to come and fix it. Because she couldn't go anywhere else. That time. sorted for now. Let's lift you out of there for a minute. And we'll poke you back in. And you. And we shall lift you up and scoot you round and pin you down like that, because then I can move you properly around. Oh dear, I'm out of coke. Tragedy. Hello, Amy. Yes, what? And what is Madam Dog up to asking for this time? What do you need? Yes. I see you. Hello, dog. Hello, I am Dog. That was her headbutting the light. Are you being silly? Are you? Whack, 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 whack. How is it you two stick your heads so far in and yet you don't appear on camera? How do you do that? It is a mystery. Yes. She almost literally had, well, she must have had her nose on the side of the camera. But of course it's the side of the camera, so you can't see it. There's plenty of room. There is. See? No, that didn't mean climb on me some more. I made space for you to sit and get all comfy. I did. Yes. I did. What? You're thinking of barking at me, or ruing at me, one or the which. You're thinking of saying something. Why do your feet feel wet? I don't remember you going outside. Did you just headbutt me? That's my nose. Yes. What? Oh. I apologise once again for Dogus Interrupters. Thank you. Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We shall stick you together. We shall unpin this. And we shall insert more strings to pin you down again. And then we can grab these and pop them up like that. See, and it keeps them all below the edge of this pin so they don't mate. Yay! Although it does look like that one. No, they're just the two from the one above. That's okay. So the question becomes now, do I start the rose ground? It's 9 o'clock. Maybe. It's going to get crowded though. It's a hard life being dog. So let's pick you three over here. I'll stick you and make you longer. So, you are already schnazzled. You are now snazzled. Let's start those, I guess. What on earth was that symbol? That was really weird. There's a microphone symbol at the bottom of my taskbar. It is mostly unrelated to the actual microphone. But you know how, like, if you have something using your GPRS on your phone and you get the little symbol to show that it's in use? It was almost one of those. There was like this little arrow next to the microphone. Don't know what it was. I don't know what it was. Very odd. I'm sorry, people. I've got terrible yawns today. Also looks like there's a ton more interesting people streaming than me like right now, which explains why nobody's here. not designed to be stood on. No. I think I know what she's asking for. Let me... There. I think we sorted it. We didn't have enough water. And if my predictions are right, most likely Rory's about to park it on the carpet. You alright, little man? You're licking your lips like you're about to throw up. You alright? Come here. Come on. There. Walk around a little. What's that all? He's always had this problem ever since I've had him, in that if he drinks and eats too fast, he tends to puke it back up, which is very unfortunate for him because obviously he's ate or drunk it because he was hungry or thirsty. So it is a little bit, it can't be pleasant for him, but it's something he's always done. So I have special bowls for them, so that they can't just kind of stick their head in the water bowl and inhale. They have to lick at it to help slow them down a bit. And it does help usually. But every so often, he goes a lot. He drinks a lot and then he doesn't sit right, so. Just don't do it on my bed. Last thing I need is a cold, soggy, wet patch. There he goes. That was you! That was her. And she was just doing a really big burp with a bit of attitude by the sound of it. But nothing came out, so that's a good thing. And I've now got a nice glass of cold Coke. So we made the most of it. Some more water. Thank you. You're a good boy. You are. You are a good boy. You are, but we don't need to start this whole hugging shenanigans, Gail. You don't need to hug me. No. I know you care, little man. I do. I do know you care. I do. He's almost doing his little nurse routine, but I'm not sick. So, I'm not quite sure what all this is about. Because usually, when he's this gentle and kind of attentive, I'm sick. You know, it might only be a cold or something. But it's almost the, I'll come and sit and hold your hand. It's almost that level of kind of, just want you to know I'm here for you, should you need me. Really? Sure. Ask my co-workers, aren't they? right, dude. We're having an argument over whether a certain coloured in bit on a map is Alaska. Now you'll have to forgive me because I am not great at geography, but I am 1,000% sure, for many reasons, that the bit he's pointing at is Alaska. Okay, so it's Hawaii, the bit to the left of it is Alaska. The bit in question turns out to be Hawaii. The problem is, of course, it's one of those maps with everything rearranged on it, so... So we're just fighting over Alaska and Hawaii. He goes, oh, so it's out of place. Well, yes, because Alaska's not really connected to America easily, you know. Alaska's nearer Russia than America. It's like 30 miles apart from Russia, as I recall. Just swallowed my Coke down the wrong hole. I'll live. I won't die, not yet. Too stubborn for that shit. Let's put you back in there. You go back under here. Like this. Beep. And you can go back on top of there. Out the way. There. Right. Then we can twizzle you. You came out of order. Tragedy. That's the right order. And you. That's because your knot's coming down. Will you stop wrinkling? You're falling out, can you not? This has possibly been one of my most boring streams for you lot, and I do apologise. while I'm semi-glad I'm not surrounded by like 10,000 people staring at me, at the same time it generates chatter, which makes it more interesting for you lot, 'cause you've got something else to read and we've all got something to talk about, and so it's catch-22, I guess. The more popular you are, the more there is to talk about, the more there is for people to see, so. Now I'm really confused as to where I got to, because I'm sure you should be twisted. So now I'm going to have to undo it all. Thank you for that, bobbin. That really helped, didn't it? Sometimes you just have to trust the process. Don't rack it up, little man. Just lie on it. Hmm? Oh. Hello. Oh. How is that comfortable in the name of dog? Hey? How can you be comfortable like that? That gives me backache looking at you. He's facing the back of the couch, but he's twisted at kind of 90 degrees, so his head is upside down in my lap. I've got backache looking at you, my little man. I have. And he's got his paw kind of under my armpit, holding me back, kind of thing. Yeah. He's being gentle and a good boy. No, don't lick me. We went through this earlier and all it did was make you puke. I don't need you to be sick. No. Don't know why. I don't know if I'd touched anything particularly bad. I must have done because he threw up pretty quick. Don't remember having anything on my hands though, little man. That's what worries me. Can't quite reach, can you? Thought I do this. That's as far as it goes, and yet somehow you're half an inch out from having your ear on camera. Oh, you like that, do you? He's got his ear on this, and I'm stroking the inside with my first fingers, and we're falling asleep. Yes, it's the nose. What's the matter? What's the matter, Mama? The pins. You don't like pins. Pins are pokey. Yes. You don't like pokey things. It's only one if I poked you with it, that's for sure. I know. It's a hard life being a puppy. Isn't it? Yes, it is. Have I finished doing this? Yes. Now don't stick your foot in my face. You've got claws. Hey, Nutkel. I'm tired today. I am slightly defeated would be a good word. I just feel slightly resigned to the fact that I'm tired. And I have a dog trying to sleep in my lap, but the moment I move, it's awake and stopping me from doing things. But as a whole, things are not bad, they're not great. Far from great, but they're not bad. He's just being annoying. But he does annoying very well. Not quite as annoying as his sister, but he is a little bit more stubborn in that if you say no to her, she'll leap off and then leap back on again 3 seconds later. He will keep coming whether you say no. So he just is, he's like a slow moving boulder. It's really difficult to stop because he's moving and he's got great weight behind him. But at the same time, it's kind of gentle and but it is determined. And I love him very much. And I can't really show you what he's doing, but he's kind of upside down, twisted like a broken thing, as only a dog can, and somehow this is comfortable, and he's trying to go to sleep in my lap, which is very nice. You haven't done that for a while. You're not going to sleep next to me, but you haven't actually gone to sleep in my lap for a while. But at the same time, I kind of want to be doing something. Don't I? I need 4 more bobbins. Still 4 more bobbins out there. And one of them is you, and not you. You get to go back in the pile. And we make these longer. So how's Nautical? How are you? How's your knot coming? Because you were working on a knot. You're awake. Come on. You sit there for a bit. Humph. Humph. Yes, I know. I know. Oh, woe is dog. Oh, dear me. Oh, dear. Am I sitting on my couch in your way? cushion. Oh, thank you for that. Was that your comment, intellectual comment there? Or was it? Was that your intellectual comment? I would like to strongly disagree with your burp as a comment. See, Amy's eating your dangly. Yes. Yes, I have to get some more dangly. You get through those a lot. She keeps eating them. No, don't maul. I put a pillow so that you may recline gently on a more comfortable basis. This did not mean scratch the shit out of me. No. You having a tired, lazy day too, where everything feels like an uphill struggle. Yes. No. Get your paw around there. I know. The audacity. I want to use my own arm. I do. I do. I know. It is so rude of me. It is. Ouch. Claws, my friend. Claws. Oh. Eep. Oh, it's very difficult to do this with you shoving my arm. And the more you interrupt it, the longer it's going to take. Ooh. Yes, have you considered that? Very, very much do have backache, Rory. Let's stick these. You're not going to be helpful, are you? I think Rory would like me to stop and devote the rest of my evening to hugging the Rory. I wonder if he's just not feeling too well, because he isn't normally quite so attentive. But also bet if I hit stop, he'd bugger off. Because that's a dog thing to do, isn't it? Want what? Now you can have it. I don't want it now. Isn't it? Name the bit. You're half asleep. Oh, yawn, stretch. Oh dear. You have the weight of the world on your shoulders, my friend. What's the matter? What's the matter? I'm so sad. I don't think he's in pain. I think he's just feeling like we all occasionally do. A bit shit. A bit down in the dumps. A little unloved and underappreciated. Aren't you? But I also know full well the instant I hit stop, Mr. Yawny Pants, you'll just bugger off and go and sleep somewhere else. But I can't really work with you here. He's now mostly in my lap. You're a bit big for that. When you was littles 4 years ago, you were tiny little puppies. Okay, you were 3 months old, but you were tiny. You fitted. Both of you would have fitted. But you're a big boy now. Oh. You're still a little puppy. At heart. But you're big now. Stop licking my fucking jumper. And me. I don't need licking. No. And I know you care. I do. I am very aware that you do. Because that's why you smother me all night. Yes, you like to sleep on my head. Which you did last night, which you haven't done for a while. So I know something's up, but I don't know what. You're just a little bit offbeat, aren't you? Just a little bit. But if you don't stop licking my jumper, my friend, I'm going to turn you into a wretched stew. I will. I'll turn you into a stew, and Trevor will eat you, because he likes stews. And I won't tell him it's a doggy stew. No. Hannibal Lecter style of feeding doggies. I want to do this, Rory. I've got 2 more rows to go, and then we'll call it quits. How does that sound? Come on. You sit back there. We'll do 2 more rows. 2 more rows of this. And then we'll stop, and you can have all the huggies while it uploads. Yes, they are. The varnish gadget, as I have its counterpart here, is flat on one side, so that it trapided them. And the idea I thought of these, now I bought these a little while ago for this kind of purpose, to be honest, because I thought of them when I was doing the first one with all the little minions of Honiton bobbins. By the way, ads in a minute, was that if I could pin them down, they would leap over pins less. So I finally got off my backside and dug them out. Or I dug 2 of them out more spectacularly. And I have put one into use, trapping down some threads. Because, well, as you can see, they lay tidy, but I can then willy-nilly kind of, well, you can't see quite so much, hang on. You can see that there's kind of a semi-pile kind of round here. And I can just kind of chuck them because these are all held down and they're pivoting round the edge of that rather than round said pin. And yeah, it is a good thing. It is a good thing, and I'm glad. They're a bit more expensive than you might think. Ads are about to start. Thank you for coming undone. Just not very sorted. I appreciate that. There you go, you should all be back now. Hi, Tenchy Tench. Good to see both of you. It is always good to see both of you. What was the Lenovo thing for, Tenty? Was it for those stupid ear things? Monday's a pile of donkey doo-doo, but there we go. Okay. I keep seeing adverts for a Lenovo pair of earphones, so I bought some. They're the biggest pile of shit I've owned in a lifetime. And I've owned some really cheap, nasty earphone things. Where are they? They're these things. The little ball thing. They're shit. Don't bother. Utter waste of time. Fortunately, they weren't that expensive, but they were still an utter waste. I can't remember who bought Lenovo now. Somebody bought Lenovo. There was also the big scare at one point because all the Lenovo laptops had gone out with a virus in the BIOS. And there was a huge uproar at work because they'd bought a load of Lenovos. God help us. That sounds about right. It's kind of funny in a way because it's been a long time since you associate IBM specifically with a form of PC. Did you? Okay. Oh, that could be it. Weren't they Asus at one point or something like that? Weren't Asus originally IBM? Weren't they the cheap IBMs for a while in the 80s? I'm not sure it was something starting with A. Because, of course, back then, IBMs were considered expensive and, you know, a bit elitist. It's a bit like having an Apple, you know. It was considered kind of, hey, you must have a lot of money if you own an IBM. And businesses wanted a cheaper option, so they made a different company name to do. It was a bit like when DHL started Every, or whatever they're called this week, and they were DHL Express, and then they became something else, and then they became Every, because, well, they got a bit of a bad rep, so DHL didn't want their name on it. But of course, it was still originally DHL. So, Now, this implies you are not the bobbins I am looking for. You, possibly, yes, you. You are the bobbin I am looking for. Well, it had to be said, you didn't really nick them, because you needed to be the strongest man in the world to carry more than one. Oh, yeah. Of course. Back in the day when 20 meg discs were considered huge, I had them. I had an Amstrad 1640, because it had 640k of RAM, and it was above average. Mind you, my first computer was an Amstrad 6128, and it had 128k of memory, and for its time, that was superiorly excessive. Most things had 32k of memory, if that. And you didn't measure anything in megahertz because, well, they didn't do mega anything. Yeah. I also remember the maximum resolution it could do. It did like 180 by 200, or 200 by 180, whichever way you think about it. It was a 286, so it probably did have 512. The Amstrad 6128 had 3 video modes. One was, I say, something like 180 by 200. The next, and it did 16 whole colours. The next one was 320 by 200 and did 8 colours. And I think it did 640 by 480, but it was black and white only. And, you know, back in the day. And I don't remember my 640 had an EGA monitor and I paid extra special for that. And the worst thing is I know I'm going to sound super old, but for the predominance of people, Windows of that era and Office of that era were more than plenty. Wow, you had a colour monitor, go you. I had Amstrad Gems, which was kind of a pre-runner to Windows. Actually, it wasn't bad, to be fair, considering the state Windows was in at the time. Never got to play with OS2. My biggest regret in the whole of life was OS2. And I, at one point, 3M were doing a thing with floppy disks that when you opened up, and it was a bit like you get on Crisps. If you set, you know, you go to this point and you send in a. Well, you went to some website or whatever and typed it, or you phoned in a code and you found out what you won. And sometimes you won, like, you know, a disc label. But I won OS2, and I was so excited because I'd always wanted to try it. And when I got it, one of the discs was corrupt. How gutted was I? I was devastated. But it's funny how you look back on all those things, and, you know, we had, you know, you had Office on Windows 3.1 or whatever. And do you know what? Office today doesn't run any slower. Well, exactly. We had, you know, we appreciated what we had. And to me, it's really funny. I mean, obviously things like graphics have improved a billion times over. And arguably, so is the speed of your computer. But the truth of the thing is if you look at how big Office is these days, it's huge. WordPerfect 5.1 was the dog's nuts. I had WordPerfect 5.1. And it, frankly, there was no better thing. It was absolutely outstanding. And we really didn't need more than that. Same with Lotus 123. Lotus 123 was a far better product than Excel. But Computer Associates, who now are best known for doing consultancy work and... Yeah, pretty much. Because, well, for the average home user, that was all they needed. They did not need... I mean, obviously, if you play games, you want to play games and you want fancy graphics and stuff. Well, the reality is, if you put WordPerfect, DOS, and Windows 3.1 on a modern computer, it would almost be unusable because it'd be too fast. I mean, one of the things that I always joke about, because currently we're building some physical servers, right? These fucking things take 25 minutes to boot up. They've got the power to flipping run NASA in their spare time. And because, you know, to be honest, something with less grunt than your average phone sent people to the moon, right? So it could have, you know, the stuff that we're doing here probably could have run the entire internet on it, you know, and every kind of mainframe computer in existence at the time, right? This thing's huge. It's got Sopwith. Sopwith was the same. It was kind of a plane flying thing where you had to drop bombs. And basically it went, you're dead. Unless you loaded a TSR that slowed it down. Because it was designed for 8086, and of course back then they didn't do kind of event style programming and time ticks and all the rest of it. And so as a result, it played it as fast as it could. So it did. And if you played it on something today, you probably all you'd see is start game over. You wouldn't even see it, you know, vaguely whiz through the screen. It'd be hysterical. Those were the days. And of course, the other thing, of course, that comes with DOS, you can't see me do it, but all I need to say is gorillas. Throwing bananas over cityscapes, and the little dance when you won. Those were the days. But you know what? One of the things that has always struck me very profoundly is, despite the fact that we all, you know, inevitably end up buying a better graphics card. Yep. But despite all of the graphics and stuff that we get on games, and don't get me wrong, some of the graphics on games is flipping outstanding, and we're not going to pretend that it's not. But some of the better gameplay is on games with shitty graphics. Or comparatively shitty graphics. So, one of the games if I look at my Steam's list, right, my Steam list has got a big pile of games in it, of which 99% of them are not installed. And to be honest, I honestly wouldn't say I enjoyed many of them. I enjoyed them for a week or two, and then I got bored, right? The games that I keep playing are the shitty ones. So, for example, I've only really got 2 games on my phone. Technically 3. I'll go with 3. I got Gems, I've got Sudoku, and I got a Game of Patience. The graphics on any of them, I almost couldn't tell you about because it doesn't really matter. One of the games I probably paid the most time on in Steam, she says, wondering if she can sort it by time played. Hang on. Library. Sort it by... No, I can't sort it. I may... Sort by recent activity. No, I don't want to do that. So I played 180 hours of that. I played more of that, okay. I was going to say, I think I'd played more of Noita than I had of anything else, but apparently I played nearly twice as much Path of Exile. But, Noita looks like something written in 1980, frankly, because it is, you know, little square bits of graphics. You know, the dude who's your little wizard, what gender's that? No idea. Can't even see if it's got a face, mate. Really can't. It probably doesn't even have a face. I don't think it does have a face, actually. It makes you, to me, this, you know, one of the things that you get all these people going, oh, the graphic looks terrible. But if the gameplay is fun, you will overlook that. If the gameplay is terrible, you start looking at how the graphics are. So if you're too busy wondering, is it photorealistic, the gameplay must be shit. Because, to be honest, you could have little capsules running around playing football. That could be fun. You could, you know, let's face it, foosball's a thing. Would it be any different? And the answer could be, it could still be a lot of fun. It is not the graphics that make the game. It is the game. And a lot of things that you buy these days are not replayable. Once you've played them, you're done. A lot of the games from the 80s were piss awful graphics. Even like the text-based one, the text and graphics-based game. You are in a forest, and there'd be like picture of 3 trees and a 3 lines of text. What do you do? Right? Those games kept us going for months, and some of them years. For many people, getting to the end of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy seemed like a pipe dream. By the way, it is actually possible. But I've done it a few times, and I bored it down to less than 20 minutes. But of course, once you know what the answers are and where things are, it does help. And they were, and that's the thing, is that even things like Moria and NetHack and Rogue and all the other kind of hack rogue kind of games. Well, and that's it. You had limited commands, admittedly, and you'd type in something and you'd go, I don't get that. But it had a really basic kind of parsing system, words it understood and things, it would recognise an object in a string and all of those kind of stuff. You had directional stuff, and it would take you to another place and show you, if it had a little bit of graphics for it would show you the graphic for it, even if it was only like 12 pixels wide. I had a fishing game. Lord above, I had a fishing game. I had to type that bastard in. Now, it was about 45 freaking million pages of data statements, but you hammered the shift keys to reel it in, and I really enjoyed that game. I cannot explain, for any logical reason, why I loved that game. Because all you really had was kind of a green bit of grass, a blue streak across the middle, and a green bit of grass. And when you cast your fishing, you could move left and right, so you can move up and down the pond stroke, river stroke, whatever the blue bit was supposed to be. And you could kind of cast your thing, and it would kind of go roughly in the middle. And then, should the bobble disappear, you hit space and smack the crap out of your shift keys. And usually lost the fish. But you spent hours doing that. Whereas today, half the time, if you haven't really got anywhere in 3 or 4 hours, you give up. I was playing... Oh, what the hell was it called? Hang on. Looking at the name of it. I was playing Brighter Shores. I've been playing that for about 20 hours. I feel like I've got nowhere fast, and the graphics are not that good. So from that point of view, I'm beginning to get bored of it, right? I'll do a little bit, and it's kind of like, I put in some effort. Yeah, I'll go and do something else now. It's a bit like when you haven't really been watching a film and you get up and go on, wander off, and then you go, oh, I should really put that away, and then you realise you were watching a film and you've just missed the other half of it. You really weren't bought into it, and I'm not buying into Bright Shores. I don't hate it, but I'm not buying into it because it's kind of like RuneScape, which is not a bad thing. But it's got a lot of complexity, but it's got a lot of stupid complexity. So you wake up kind of thing in a barracks, and you get given a sword and told, go and swing it at this. Right, now, we're being invaded. Go and protect the land kind of thing. So you go and do that. And they say, right, report back to barracks. We've got more work to do. Yes, I want you to learn bow. Go and see this dude. So you go to the dude, and he goes, I need you to be level 15. Bitch, I'm not even level 2 yet. So you go around, you kill a few things, but you aren't level 2. You've got to be level 2. You've got to be level 15 at waving a sword around. And that goes up really slowly. And there just is this kind of... There's so many levels of things, and you can't do this because you're not high enough level. Or
like, for example, there's a training square where you can go and fight NPCs to practice your swording or whatever, right? When you start, they're all level 0. Okay, great. So you get to about level 8 or 9. I can't remember which. And suddenly they're level 18. So, of course, wipe the floor with you. Oh, that's really helpful. You've got to go and... It's the traditional kind of... Hello, adventurer. I'm desperate. You know, my child is really sick. I need 3 rat tails. What, you mean the rats running around your feet? Yes, those rat tails. Can you collect me some? Yeah, here you go. Are you done now? No, adventurer, my child's really sick. Please, can you collect me 3 rat tails? I just did that shit for you, you lazy... It has that feel to it. It has that... It doesn't feel like what you do makes a good difference. It is a multiplayer game. But your world is not in the same state their world is in. So, for example, you might see some fish and you'll be trying to catch them. They might see the same fish, but they can catch the fish and you will still see them and you can go and catch them. So they're kind of like instances, but they're also kind of not instance in that they're not catching fish you can't see. They're catching the same fish in the... But, yeah, it's a bit weird. The mobs are the same. Once you've hit them, no one else can hit them, which kind of is good. Stop skill stealing. They drop random loot occasionally, which is a good thing. But it feels like someone built a load of game systems and then tried to make a game out of it. Not they had an idea for a game and built a load of systems for it, if you know what I mean. In that the systems seem not quite fit in the game. They feel like someone had this great idea on, hey, we could do this, so they did, and then tried to cram it in the game. Because there's professions, and that's fine, and you know, you can do certain things at certain levels, and that's not a bad idea, and but some of the things you can do and not do, and just kind of doesn't fit. It's just slightly... It's a bit like when you're really ill and your hearing's off and everything sounds a little bit wonky, or you're watching something and there's like a slight delay factor, and there's like you wave your hand in front of your face and it's like you can see multiple copies of your hand, and it's, you know, because you're slightly hallucinating, and it's just this... It's got that kind of something's not really right feel to it. But it's also not a bad game. There are little puzzles, you've got to go and find this, that and the other. But at the same time, you take a wrong turn off a main street, you find yourself in a bit of a back street alley that didn't look like a back street alley when you went into it, because you can see all the offshoots of things, and they're all shaded, because they're like, if you think of them as rooms, so the next rooms are all shaded, you only see the entrance. So you click on it, and then the moment you click on it, you realise that was a wrong move, but like 3 level 32 mobs have just whooped your ass and sent you back to dead, and you're like, cheers for that. And the first time you die, it's like, well, you should have used a healing potion. Have you seen how little those healing potions heal you for? It says 10%. Well, 10% of my health is not 12 points. That's one smack of a like level 0 mob. It's really not worth the effort. But at the same time, most of us hate games and stuff where you go to do things and it's like, hello, adventurer. I am Captain Zarg. Please go and see Princess Element about this. And there's a little dotted line that you follow, and because you've no idea who she is or where she is, and you just follow the little line, or you see a little blip on your map, and you head to the little map, and there she is. No, it takes all of the kind of wandering around and investigating out of it, and you're just basically going along doing a load of tick boxes, because, well, that's really boring. And it just seems that we've lost the element of writing good gameplay. And a few of you might know, may not, I was writing a game. I was writing a game called Dungeon Disasters. Because the idea is you woke up in a dungeon after a bit of a disaster. So hence it was called that, right? And I was really pumped up. I've got a huge notebook full of notes on things I was going to do with it. And the first level was a dungeon. Duh, right? Because that's where you wake up. And you have to escape it. And then you'd arrive in the outside world, which I hadn't made yet because, well, I hadn't. And I was finishing the dungeon. And I ran into a bug. And it was not one of my creation. Here I am, but... And that's the thing, we've kind of lost the point of playing the game, which was to have a bit of fun, right? It's all about who can do it the fastest, who's got the fattest this, microtransaction the other, right? Because, you know, God forbid you don't make money from these things. But my little problem with Dungeon Disasters was quite simple. You're underground, completely underground. Without light source, it is black as a badger's butthole, right? You need a light source to see what you're doing. There are things in there that, on discovering you, are slightly pissed that you've escaped and want to kill you, so you must fight them. Now, the fight system that you can see looks really basic. It's actually quite complicated because I have written it so that more things can take place. So it takes into account your strength, your stamina, your level, its strength, its stamina. It does a really fucking fancy combination of things on that, and kind of armor classes and all this kind of shit, right? So the actual system is a properly kind of ready system. Just right now, you don't know what you've got in your hand, but technically you have something in your hand that you whack them with. And, you know, you can't really tell because all that happens is occasionally you hit them and occasionally you crit, occasionally you don't. And a lot of the time you miss because when you shit. There is a level system in there. It's just not really implemented yet. Thanks, Tenchy Tench. But because I ran into the bug. Now the bug was as simple. If you're sitting in one room and you've got your back to the rest of the house, for example, if there are lights on in the other room, you probably can't see them. If the door's shut and everything, right? You probably won't know if the lights are on in the other room. And the problem I had was that lights were leaking through solid walls. So I rebuilt all of the walls, right? I rebuilt the whole dungeon using an entirely different system so that there were now air gaps between the rooms, because someone was going, oh, it's because your walls are touching the ceiling. Well, yeah, that's how you don't have holes in them, darling. And so I rebuilt them all. It still happened. I sent in bugs, and I would get some snippy comments back, kind of like, it's your fault, you've got too many lights. Well, actually, no, I don't, because it's set to colour lights that you can't see. So a maximum, I worked out, because I certainly counted them all, maximum number of lights you should be able to see at any one time was 7. You're allowed 16. So, yes, but this light, yeah, but it's through 2 solid walls. I shouldn't be able to see that. And I had literally had you start in a room, and without telling you how or why, you get out of the room, you go through across a bit the size of a public toilet cubicle, into another room, turn right, and go down a corridor that's kind of behind the 2 rooms that you passed, right? You stand in that bottom corner, so almost the other side of the wall from where you started and look back the way you came, if you do not hold a light source at this time, everything should be 100% black, because there is no lights anywhere that should be visible to you. Not, even if you turned on like Wembley Stadium level lights in any of the rooms, not that there are any that bright, but go with it, you would still not see them, because, well, there are no lights that go down the first, well, technically you go through a little bit and then turn right again. So there's a bit of a corridor, and yes, there is a doorway that there can be a light at the end of the other side of the doorway, but it's the other side of the doorway. And so you go down one corridor, you go through a little bit. There are no other lights. Everything is at least 2 walls away from a light. And it was lit up brighter than half the bright rooms, right? And it was, you've got too many lights. Well, I shouldn't do, because none of those lights should be visible. But the problem was, it was culling the walls. So you have to think about this. It was culling walls, so it would delete the walls and not draw them. And then go, but now I can see the lights. Well, no, the lights would have been behind the walls that you're not showing. Therefore, you shouldn't be able to see the lights, because, well, the walls would be blocking them. It's not my fault that you have chosen to delete the walls because you wouldn't be able to see them, and then leave the things that would be behind the walls that you shouldn't be able to see because the walls were in the way. So I spent, and it must be getting close to 4 years now. Yeah, shit you not. Actually, possibly longer. Might actually be the whole since before I moved in this house. In fact, I think it was. But I think I kind of worked around it for a little bit. So let's go with it's been 4 years, because it has been about that. I've been trying to work around this problem. And I have tried everything. As I said, I've rebuilt things. I wrote systems to manually turn the lights off. I literally did some of everything. And I got it to work this week. Not that they fixed my bug, you understand, because every time I ever sent it in, they would make a snippy comment about it must be my fault because. And then when I said, well, so what's wrong with it? They'd go quiet and shut the ticket. So I don't actually know what I did wrong with it, if I did do anything wrong with it. But I currently have it working. The problem is it's been 4 years. I'm bored of it now. I got 4 years of struggling upstream against this thing. I'm not interested anymore. I don't want to do it. It would be a bit like if every time I touched this lake, it just turned into a knot. You try, and after, a few weeks trying, you'd kind of go, this isn't working, I'm sorry, I'm giving up. Because you just can't, right? And there are times for your own safety and sanity you give up. And I had such big plans for this. And the worst thing is I still want to build it, but it's kind of a bit like my old house, which was that my old house brought me extreme depression towards the end. Just even walking through the door really makes me depressed. And what it meant was that when if I needed to go there, I almost couldn't, because it made me too miserable. And this program's almost the same, is that I may want something from my old house, but I wouldn't have been able to go in and get it. I may want to do something with this game. I might have this great idea to do something, but I almost open the code, look at it and go, yeah, no, I won't be doing that today. And immediately it's done, right? Immediately that idea and the enthusiasm has left the building. And it's wrong. It shouldn't be that way. And you've just cheated and gone over the edge of my pin. Bugger. Come on. Come back. Come on. Come on. And so the frustration factor of it is really, really huge. And it's not that I don't want to do the game, because no, I don't expect it to be the next World of Warcraft or anything like that. But originally, the early levels were going to be single player, so that you get to learn your character, because obviously you wake up as this character. So, one of the things that kind of always annoys me about games is either you wake up and it's kind of like, hello adventurer, here's a load of stuff, you're all set, off you go. Do you want to boost to level 50? Yes. There you go, now you're level 50, you've never played this character before, you don't really know how any of the gear and everything works, you're going to go out and die and get really frustrated because everything's really hard because you've not earned where you got to, right? And so from that point of view, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to kind of for you to grow up with the character, if you know what I mean. The character would grow with you to an extent, and all of the skills would come in bit by bit. You'd discover them. You had to discover them. You weren't just given them, but you would learn the skills. So, I don't know, you would meet a man in the forest and he would teach you how to use an axe and make some things out of wood, and tell you where you can go and meet a carpenter who will tell you lots of things you can make with them. And the carpenter would teach you how to make things, and not just hand you a recipe and go off you go. You would spend time, in essence, copying him. You would animatedly copy him while it was, quote, learning the recipe, right? So all of these kind of things, there would be a bit of crafting in it so you could make and fix things. But also that you would go out, you'd discover various plants and you'd bring them back, and some wise old hag would say to you, yes, if you mix that with this, you can make this potion. So again, she would show you how to make it, you would do that, and now you can make some healing potions or whatever. You would find a book, maybe it's got spells in it, you decide, you might be not spell orientated, so you don't bother. Or maybe you want to, and you would kind of form your character in a kind of fluid manner, in that you could learn a healing spell, but if you got a really high bit, you only earn so many skill points, so depending on how you spend them, you're either great at doing swords and can't do any spells, or you're mediocre at swords, but you've also got, say, a healing spell and can live a bit longer. So from that point of view, it would be a little bit more flexible. And each zone kind of thing would be a new era, and so you'd go and you'd arrive, and the idea is that when you finally escape the thing, you go back to find your parents, because technically you're a child, you just don't know that yet, and you'd find your parents, but when you got home, they weren't there. So then you had to go on a few quests to kind of discover, where they'd gone, because of course they'd gone looking for you. And you'd find them, blah, 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 and then, but by getting there, you'd have done a whole host of other shitty things and gone a whole host of places and all those kind of things. And so I had really big dreams for this game. But because I got stuck so early on because of a stupid bug, and I've spent 4 years fighting it, and now I've got it to work, the bubble burst. The bubble of wanting to do it. It's the same of anything. If you're really stoked to do something, you're really enthusiastic, and it's a bit like, I don't know, you want to go to see some play, or you want to go and see a film, or you want to go and see a museum, or go to the library and find a book on whatever, right? And you go, and it's full, or it's out, or it's closed. The further you had to go and the more grief, and let's say you got wet and cold and miserable, and then it was cold, you're not interested in trying again. Even though you really were really enthusiastic, and this is where I'm at with my game, is that part of me still really wants to do it because I've still got a brain full of ideas of things to do, and we all know how bad my brain can be. But the truth is that the bubble burst, and reforming the bubble is a complicated task. And yet, at the same time, I'm not going to pretend that I hold all the answers, because that's most certainly not the thing. But it was more about the gameplay than what it looked like, if you know what I mean. Is that it was going to be much more about the actual game, the puzzles, the learning to be, the understanding of yourself, the finding of items. So obviously, for example, you start out, you're actually punching shit, you just don't know it yet, right? And then obviously if you find a sword, well, as you start, maybe you're more likely to injure yourself with it, right? And you need to practice and get better with it, and before you can start doing fancier things like blocking with it, and all of those kind of things. And so there was going to be progression and all kind of things. And I think I've got a thing. Possibly a bot, don't know. We shall see. Thank you for the follow, damn your faith. I'm not convinced you're not a bot from your message, but we will see. So yes, I need to kind of find my game making mojo again, because it kind of poofed, really. And that's why I, set up my alternative project for this, so that I don't get, so that if I get too wound up by it, if I get too fed up with making triangles, because, to be fair, we've got like 66 triangles to go, right? It's not like we haven't got a few. 66 triangles is a lot, and it is going to be repetitive, and to be honest, I can't imagine most of you actually watching and paying great attention to it, because they're all going to be the same at this rate. So, not exactly thrill a second now, is it? There's no, oh my god, is he going to die? No, we saved the day, oh great. Oh my god, look at that great drop you got. No, there's none of that kind of roller coastery bit. It's plonkty, 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 plonk, pin, ow, plonkty, plonkty, plonk. Fuck it, bollocks, I got it wrong, So from that point of view, it's not exactly great watchability, and I'm aware of that. So, part of me can't imagine that you're all going to sit here and watch the next 66 triangles. But I must set up that test piece before the end of this square. But at the same time, my game thing is that I don't want to get bored of this. I don't want to get to that point where I've lost my mojo and I've got a big pile of these stupid squares and no idea what to do with them. Because hopefully it'll be, a fair way through it. I don't want to not finish. I want to finish this. So we shall see. I think the hardest part for me is that I can't really tell you guys on stream when I'm having a bad day or that I want to skip a day particularly easily. I did post the story the other day, and that's about as near as I've got. But of course it doesn't notify you of the story, so it doesn't really help. But we have done, I think, enough for today. I need to hug the dog, upload this, and try and do it before 1 o'clock in the morning for a change. Because that's generally when it's finishing, 1 or 2 in the morning, and then I get up for work a few hours later. So hence, not helping with the tired and slight irritabilities of life. That stream that I did, the 6.5 hour one I did on Saturday, took forever. To the point YouTube wouldn't even give me an idea of how long the upload would be. It took hours. I think it was like 4 hours to upload that, which is ridiculous. And of course, it's not even like it's at maximum, it's not like even it's 4K, but I can't do much about that. Anyway, it is time to leave this. It has been great hearing from you all. I enjoy your company. It does help making doing it that little bit easier, because obviously it's just me and my brain cells otherwise, and clearly my brain cells are a bit wonky, so having people to talk to really does help, even if we do talk smack for most of it. But having some people to talk to about random things is a nice thing. I shall put my hefty cloths over the top, because that's definitely a plan. And I shall see you tomorrow. Get brown cloth of happiness. I shall see you tomorrow. Thank you very much for coming. And as I said, see you tomorrow. Hopefully it'll be kind of 6-7 o'clock-ish. If I had a great day at work and I'm wide awake and really in the mood, it'll be a bit earlier. If not, it'll be the 6:30, 7 o'clock-ish, hopefully. Speak to you then. Bye-bye.